Hi, thanks for tuning in today. I've got a question for you. Are you single? No, that's not me trying to be sleazy. It's a genuine question. Well, if you're like me and you're single, you're in good company. In the USA, 28% of households are single-person households, and countries like Sweden and Germany also have similar percentages of single people. Overall, 25 to 30% of adults are believed to be single in the world. That's 2 to 2.5 billion people on our planet who are unattached and single. The question is, how many of them are happy being single? And why do we have so many single people? Well, unless you live in India, as an example, or you come from an Islamic background, the pressure that families put on their children to get married and start a family has scaled back. It makes sense. Historically, people would get married and have families to ensure that their children will look after them in their old age. These days, particularly in the Western world, people are putting personal growth, career ambitions, and financial stability ahead of relationships. I know for me, the fear of never being able to provide for a family to the standards I'd like has always been in the back of my mind. You don't want to live on Struggle Street. No matter where you live, things are getting more expensive by the day. Where I live, young people can no longer afford to buy houses or apartments. So why would you even think about having a relationship when you can barely keep up with your mortgage repayments or keep your head above water? Another factor is dating apps. If you've ever tried using dating apps, then you'll know what I mean when I say they are a massive dent on people forming meaningful relationships. You've got Tinder, which is about people hooking up. No thanks. And I've even tried Bumble, and that's just full of people who really aren't that invested in finding someone serious. If you match with someone, you're lucky to get a message or two out of them, and typically it ends up in meaningless small talk that goes nowhere. I've tried it for over 7 years now, and I've had about 2 face-to-face dates with people during that time. No. Digital dating, in my view at least, is a complete failure and brings out the worst in people. And what makes me angry is that there are companies profiting off of the perpetual singleness and loneliness of people. Dating apps really have no interest in seeing you or me start a relationship. It means they lose users, and that means less revenue. So what do? They give you so many choices of potential partners, you end up in paralysis. So you end up choosing everyone and getting nowhere with digital dating. And if you meet someone, you might give them 50% of your attention and still spend the other 50% chasing other potential partners. The people behind these apps gamify their experiences. They make them so addictive that you end up swiping on people looking for a dopamine hit when you get a match. But that's as far as you go before you swipe on another person. It's sinister. It's evil. And the other factor that I think that's causing what I call the single pandemic is there are plenty of people with emotional and psychological issues. There are a lot of really messed up people in the world, and the more isolated that people are because of their single life, the worse it gets for them. They have no one to talk with, to share their issues with, but more importantly, they have no one to give them some relativity about their problems. So they live in echo chambers, constantly hearing the echo of their own voice. I know so many men, in particular, who are complete messes. They're like children who have never grown up living in men's bodies. The rates of depression and anxiety that I see and I hear about all the time are off the radar. The more messed up you are, the harder it is to get out of your mess. And who wants to date someone in this situation? I certainly wouldn't. Plus, there are plenty of people who have been so deeply hurt in past relationships that the idea of opening themselves up to falling in love and having their heart just completely shattered again is so terrifying. I can relate to that. As Socrates once said, sometimes you put walls up not to keep people out, but to see who cares enough to break them down. It's safe to say we have an issue on our hands. This single pandemic isn't just about people being single. It's a lot more than that. People are experiencing significant loneliness and isolation. And it's really, really bad for us. Doctors are telling us that it increases the risk of premature death by more than 60%, or the equivalent of smoking 15 cigarettes per day. And don't think that this is just an older person's issue. 79% of Gen Z experience frequent loneliness. Humankind is a social creature, and we're not meant to live alone, locked up in our houses and apartments, with no one to share our days with, our joys and fears and disappointments. And the greatest irony to all of this is that we're surrounded by apps like Facebook and dating apps that are meant to make meeting people and building relationships so much easier. Something's not right, is it? I'd love to hear your thoughts on this topic. Have you experienced or observed the struggles of being single? Leave a comment below and don't forget to subscribe. And if you like this video, like it so that you can catch more of my videos. Thanks for watching.